information regarding the workings of the Civil Service Agency. Civil Service Hour is that program you can get all the answers you need. Civil Service Hour is a 50-minute informative radio program that comes on EOBC Radio beginning Monday and every Monday at 12:05 in the afternoon. The program highlights civil service agency responsibility in managing the efficiency of government's workforce and disseminate government information to those in far to reach places. Civil Service Hour, a means of getting vital information to civil servants in counties other than Mosurado County. John Joseph Swain, Director of Communications and Public Relations, Civil Service Agency, for this informative radio program, Civil Service Hour, every Monday at 12:05 in the afternoon. Don't miss it.
If we work to build this nation, follow.
Welcome, folks, to another edition of your program, or the program that is interactive, educative, and informative. That is the Civil Service Hour. Your ELPC. It comes up every morning year between 12:05 to 1, and is a program that brings you up to speed on matters relative to the well-being, the welfare of civil servants across the length and breadth of this nation. So we say this is a program that we will cut the number so that immediately you want to, but we open the lines, but we just want to give you the number first so that you can keep it when we should have opened the lines, that you can make a contribution. So we have 08005140096, 08005140096. This is the number to call to give your contribution in terms of topics that we will be highlighting today. Today I'm here alone in studio, and I'm just going to highlight some of the great achievements that we've done at the Civil Service Agency under the flagship of the Director General, Honorable James A. Thompson, and by extension, this government. And we'll bring you some highlights on all of those achievements. But today we will focus more on pay harmonization, its benefits, and rationale. That is, we're going to talk a little bit on it. Why do we want to talk on that? On Monday, that was on the 20th, I think Wednesday on the 20th of this month, the Honorable Director General was invited, had a very nice and lengthy interview, and the topic was based on pay harmonization. That is the reform that was carried out by that's honor his stewardship, and by extension this government. Talking about its rationale and as well as its benefits, what it did. So today, because our studio guest is also attending on an important occasion nationally, we thought we couldn't allow this day or this edition to slip by. So we thought to do a recap of all of what those talking points that the Honorable Director General made on that interview when he talked about. And one thing he said, and I'm going to repeat that, at the Civil Service Agency is the central government agency that has a statutory mandate. And we say statutory mandate, we say by law, and this law was enacted in 1973, May 1973, when they said that is the agency that would be responsible to advise government on or to manage that is the human resource management and policies of the civil servants, of all civil servants, or the civil servants, those that work in the public sector. So again, we want to say that's the hub of the industry. Is there to recruit Liberians, qualified Liberians into the civil service, making sure that once they are also recruited, they are professionally driven, that is, they know what they are there for the job for. And again, they are there to be motivated. And also helps to protect them so that nobody takes advantage of them. This is why they say, what and large civil servants need to be neutral or to be non-political. I mean, it is your right. It is your right to be political, but I mean, it's a right to vote for who you want to vote for and out of this thing. This is why the director general always said that people, we need to put ourselves in a big, well, to be peaceable, that is to be, to conduct ourselves in a very, very orderly manner. So he always said that to guide us. I mean, whatever your choice is, you have to think twice. Don't allow people to sway your own thought, but look at some of the deliverables. I mean, I can advise you on that. This is why this show is where we are. We give facts. We are, yeah, political. We are outside our own jurisdiction, our official jurisdiction, but when we come to this program, we give facts. So we thought to highlight some of the things, the talking points the Honorable Director General, he laid his emphasis on during his interview. So since I'm here alone, I will bring you all of those things that he said. We will go delve into it. So again, this is the Civil Service Hour. My name is Joseph and Swen, the Director of Communications and Public Relations at the Civil Service Agency. I mean, that is the mouthpiece of the agency. So we start the ball rolling because there are a lot more. If you look at our sheet, our itinerary we have today, I mean, so many achievements that have been done under the stewardship of his Director General Honorable James A. Thompson. And it was so good that the President of the Republic of Liberia, who is his immediate boss, I mean, when we say his immediate boss, that is the Civil Service Agency is an independent body that reports strictly to the presidency. That it is an independent body, the agency that reports strictly directly to the presidency. It doesn't go to any other ministry or agency. I mean, it's an independent body. This is why every decision that is taken by the Director General, he must, get the blessing of His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Liberia. So we will just run you through them. I mean, we'll run you through them so you see what has happened so far. We're talking about the control employment, how stable and predictable the wage bill is now, with the emphasis on that. We also talk about some of that's the legal legal power of attorney in the LPA scheme and the micro loan scheme that this government has introduced and is doing quite well. We have the well coordinated pension and employment process. I mean, you can understand that we've established, to complement the effort of LIPA, we've established the Civil Service Training Center. As we speak now, training is ongoing. It has been ongoing for a couple of times. Since its establishment is doing well, training civil servants. You have the automated testing system, that is the civil service test. I mean, this time around, it wouldn't be this manual thing. Hopefully, before the month comes to an end, all the processes they are now dotting the I's and crossing the T's and separating completing the cycles of the O's. You understand? So we made the pronouncement coming to that, and then to talk about the introduction of the digital access to your government pay slip. That is, you can know strictly from your phone how much you've been paid, how much was deducted from all of those things. So we're going to talk about that. But like I said, we're going to lay more emphasis on the pay and harmonization, is rational or rationalization and its benefits. Why was it done, and why is called pay? Because every time you in the various corners, the reason why we thought to do that, and the Director General thought to go through that interview and explain more on that, is because sometimes people carry out information and mislead people, and as the body responsible to give to who have done this thing, the body that has done it, that is the agency, and we are here. We cannot sit down and allow some people to mislead certain people. Our people, I know not everybody is buying into that, but you go around, somebody say, "Oh, they call your pay," and all of those things, and harmonization, and and people misconstrue the issue of harmonization. It's internet, all of things. So we thought there are a lot more benefits that harmonization did than to allow people to be misconstrued or to allow people to play politics out of it. As I said, on this platform, we don't talk politics, we talk facts. So we thought to bring out the facts to you Liberians, to the world, so that they understand, they get out of this. And again, we will open the lines for you to make your give your concerns or anything with respect to our topic. But please, please, this is not a political place. This is where we give facts, because why? At the Civil Service Agency, we are non-political. And yes, as Liberians, we have our rights to be wherever we want to be. But when it comes to our own duty on our job, this is why one of the pillars, they say you have to be professionally driven. And when they talk about you being professionally driven, it simply means that you know your job, you go to job. If you are working here, you know your assignment, your TOR, do your job. Do not bring political affiliation or emotions to impede or to serve as a hurdle to like carrying out the job and bring out excellent or fruitful result. So we just thought to bring out some of these things so that you will understand exactly what it is for those who are being misconstrued, or who are having, they are unfortunately come across people who are not giving them the rightful information when it comes to all of these things. So we just thought to bring you up to speed on that. Again, I'm Joseph Ernest Swin, Director of Communications at the Civil Service Agency. There where we are. So we'll take a little short break. When we come back, then we'll delve strictly into exactly what we are here for and what we just stated. Thank you.
I get time to play, time to work. What will I play my big game?
Hey, are you in the employ of government ministry or agency and want to know about the Civil Service Agency, the sector of government that is responsible for recruitment, civil service test examination, performance management, and other information regarding the workings of the Civil Service Agency? Civil Service Hour is that program you can get all the answers you need. Civil Service Hour is a 50-minute informative radio program that comes on EOBC Radio beginning Monday and every Monday at 12:05 in the afternoon. The program highlights Civil Service Agency responsibility in managing the efficiency of government's workforce and disseminate government information to those in far-to-reach places. Civil Service Hour, a means of getting vital information to civil servants in counties other than Mosurado County. John Joseph Swain, Director of Communications and Public Relations, Civil Service Agency, for this informative radio program, Civil Service Hour, every Monday at 12:05 in the afternoon. Don't miss it.
Welcome back, folks, to the Civil Service Hour. Like we stated, we will be delving into a whole lot of the key achievements done on the stewardship of his Director General Honorable James A. Thompson, and by extension the presidency. You know, understand? I mean, it's good as a great leader when you put people who you think can execute all of your jobs so well. And I think Mr. Thompson's appointment has been one of the success stories, of many success stories that we can kind of. So as we are within this confines, we thought to bring you some of the achievements that have been done on it. So, you know, civil servants are very pivotal when it comes to an efficient and effective running of government. And of course, no government takes them for granted. This is why on the leadership thinks that so strongly that civil servants are incontestably central to the efficient governance of the state. That's why they're conscious that because they are the co-implementers. They are, my boss will always say, they are the key catalyst to transmitting government's policies into actions, right? That is, government comes with a policies. Those who transmit those policies into actions or are those achievable actions are civil servants. Civil servants are there wherever they are. This is why they are relatively neutral, because whoever goes, whoever comes, wherever the government is, whoever the government is, they work with you. This is why the idea of being qualified, they must be qualified first of all before you can be admitted into the civil service. And once you are there, you have to be professionally driven, because when you are a professional person, you will know your do's and your don'ts. That is country first, whatever it is, you say, hey, if I don't do this, I'm going to create a hurdle to the progress of my country. So as a civil servant, you must be what professionally driven, so that you know that you have to do your job, come what may. And again, the civil service is there to protect you. That is whatever the situation, based on the standing orders of the civil service, and to protect you and to motivate you. Motivation is also because it comes as a win-win thing. When civil servants are motivated, too many things, they are productive. This is why this government have decided to bring so many things in terms of the LPS scheme. You talk about the microloan scheme. You talk about the regular payment of salary, monthly salary on pass. You see somebody. So it is, if anybody comes to tell you, say, oh, they owe me 3-4 months, then my boss said in his interview, say that person, they need to check that person, because somebody will say, hey, because somebody owes you, they will say, my man, they didn't pay me yet, or they didn't pay me for 2-3, but that, and the people can under the covers of so many things. So we want to look at the issue about this pay harmonization. Some people really don't know what it is, because firstly, before you can bring that out, you want to tell the person what is pay harmonization. I'm asking somebody and they would tell me. So this, I'm going to highlight these talking points that my boss gave on during his interview. So I will just go through them so we understand exactly what pay harmonization is. And it took place between 2018 to within this period of this dispensation, this government, and why we want to see the benefit of it. Say that is the benefit, and what led them to have thought about that decision. So we said this. Okay, first I will just read a little bit on this. A control employment with stable and predictable wage bill. In time past, we say inheriting an uncontrolled employment which largely avoided or circumvented the required statutory employment regulatory agency. That is, in time past, you have, employment was just done like that. Some of those employment were not even, they didn't go through the civil service process, the regulations. Every government employee, that is, if you are to be admitted into the civil service, that it's not about appointed positions. Appointed positions are by the presidency. But if you are to be called a civil servant, you must go through the process of go through the regulations of the agency. And in time past, a lot more were not done by that. So you can understand that people were brought on board not going through the process. So this time around, we have this controlled and a stable wage bill, a predictable wage bill. That is, once you have people go through the process of the civil service, you can predict. You can look further and say, hey, by this end of this month, we have this amount, this number. But if we on time pass, people were just coming sporadically by the destruction of head of agencies and anything, then of course you wouldn't have a control system. So this time around, we have this controlled system, right? So, and once you have a control system, employment system, you can relatively predict the wage bill, what the bracket, what it's going to look like, how it's going to look like. You're going to look at that. So let me just talk a little bit about the pay harmonization. We say harmonization, the merger of a dual pay system of basic salary in Liberian dollars managed by the CSA and allowances paid by the Ministry of Finance and Development Planning and managed at the discretion of the heads of agency. So in time past, we had every employee or every civil servant had we had a dual pay system. We had the basic salary that was in the Liberian dollars, and you had this allowance, general allowance. And the general allowance, yes, was paid by the Ministry of Finance and Development Planning, but it was sent to the various ministries and agencies, and it was given to employee or civil servants by the discretion of the head of institution. So you realize that. So the day you woke up, Michael woke up one day and he didn't speak to the head of agency. That head of agency could say, hey, if last month they gave Michael 20,000, or let's say $300, you can say Michael passed, but he didn't speak to me, or give him $100. So it's by the discretion that he decides or she decides how much they will give you based on that general allowance. For the basic salary that was in the Liberian that was it came strictly from the civil service agency. So the civil service knew and they could account for that. So it went strictly to there. But for the general allowance, in time past, those were the things that were there. So the government decided, the civil service agency decided, say, hey, in conjunction with the Ministry of Finance and Development Planning, say, hey, there's a need for us to put all of the salaries together to make it one, because you can have this one basic salary, because there was a disadvantage for those who were during those days, because the national social security tax was being done, that is the contribution was being done from the basic salary, that is was to be done from the Liberian dollars. This is why you see some people who have retired and are getting some benefit from the social security. They are getting very less, because all of the contributions they made, they got it from the Liberian dollars, which was very low. So you realize that if a person during those days was receiving 15,000 Liberian dollars and also were receiving 400 United States dollars, for 15,000 for a basic salary and $400 for his general allowance, that was by the discretion of the head of institution or agency, that person will walk away with the US dollar free, but then the taxes, the deductible, the contribution that he needed to pay, which of course is very important, because when you retire, these are things you benefit from. So it's good when they are deducting it from your salary. You should be you should be happy. You should be happy that you're planning for the future. So when they took the little amount from there, now putting all of it, because what you receive at the end of your retirement is the contribution you've made. So they're not going to take any different money from anywhere. So what you've made, that's why you're going to receive. So if you contributed less, that's what you're going to get. So that's why. So the government looked at it and said, no, we can't do this. Let's put all together. Now, so we just gave you what the result, why it resulted to. So they said the merger of a dual pay system of basic salary in LD, that is a Liberian dollar, managed by the Civil Service Agency, and allowances paid by the Ministry of Finance and Development Planning, and managed at the discretion of the heads of agency. So here's the result. What did that bring to you? What was the result? A single pay. Now this time around, you have single pay. Then majority of the money was in fact, it was done into US dollar. It was denominated into US dollars, right? And paid through your direct deposit. This time around, they put all of that monies together, your salary, single now, it goes into your personal account. It goes into your personal account. It's deposited there. But now, we have this policy of the 20% and the 80%. So 80% will be into US dollars and the 20% will be in the Liberian dollars. But all of those go into your personal account. Nobody will tell you, say, because by discretion or because he didn't speak to me, all of those things. So it's there. So that's the result. The result is that it's a single pay into US dollars, and pay through your direct deposit wherever you have your account. That's why before you go to the pen process, they would tell you to give all of your information that we need, your bank account, other things. So the rationalization of pay and grades, right, especially significant, given that individuals on allowance came into the system without going through. Let's get it straight. Most of the people who were getting the general allowance, you realize that some of them didn't go through the civil service process. So they were there in time past. So the general allowance is by the discretion. So the head of institution brought somebody as a driver, though all of the drivers are making this amount, but you realize there's one driver who is making far more than the other driver. It tells you that because in the connection, it tells you exactly. But this time around, put all together, all drivers make the same thing, and how it goes. So this means that in addition to the 44,000 always quoted as the number of civil servants, there were thousands more on allowance payrolls who were not captured in the 44,000 by the civil service. So every time civil servants say they ask who give us a number of civil servants, some most often we say 44,000. But before the process took over, we say 44,000, because those are the people civil service agency had record on. So for this reason, we say 44,000. But again, then they met others there who were on a general allowance, who are not going through, the process of the civil service agency. They, others will say, okay, since they are not part of the civil service agency or regulation, they're going to go through, let drop them. But no, the reform decided to bring everybody on board and say, hey, they are all Liberians, wherever it is, they bring them on board. So they brought people on board, right? And now they started to give them through the singles are. So we talk about result when it comes to the resolution. Assignment of all employees into the appropriate position grades, bringing down the pay of those earned way above the grades and protecting and upgrading the pay of those earned towards farm. During those times, before the reform, there were people who, because they were brought on board by some, whatever it means they came, but then they didn't go through the civil service agency, they were paying some of them above the paid grade. Mind you, every position has the pay grade. That is this amount. Maybe they got 3 steps. Normally, do we have 3 steps? So if you just come, they give you, maybe if you were this position and the position needed to pay you from 500 to 800, maybe when you just got there, they will pay you 500. As you go along, maybe in your performance, that's why we go through performance. We got a division at the civil service called the performance management. I mean, we call the management services division, but ECO function is to look at performance of individual staff whatsoever. When you sort of migrated to so you are to be paid between 500 to 8. So gradually you can step you until you go far. But there were some instances based on certain things, like as stated earlier, there are some people who were brought on board and were paid far beyond, that is, their pay grade. That is, if they needed to, if you're a driver, let's say maybe you needed to be paid 500, there are some drivers that were paying 1,000. So what the reform did was, it brought people back in their rightful places. Yes, the first thing, there were a lot of people who were didn't pass through the regulatory or let's say procedure of the civil service agency. Instead of allowing them to go, redundant them, said no. The reform said no, let's bring them back. They are Liberians, we have them, let's have a uniform system. That's why we talk about having a controlled employment system. The reform brought about controlled employment system. So they brought them about, they migrated them on the central pay that is controlled by the payroll system that is controlled by the CSA. Now, once they brought them back, they needed to put them in the appropriate pay grade. So that's why somebody will say, oh, they cut somebody pay. Yeah. So maybe you were this grade, you were paid for sometimes now because of your whatever connection you had or what way you went there, you were paid 1,000 when you needed to be paid in accordance to the CSA, you needed to be paid maybe 700. So what they do, they brought you back into your pay grade. Then we say, well, you cut, yeah. I mean, it was lawful that you do that. Once it was a general exercise or national exercise, it was meant for national interest. It was lawful that they bring you back into your place and say, hey, by virtue of your position, this is what you should be, receiving monthly. But it seems that you've been receiving more than that. No, it is not called for. So the reform brought people into their rightful areas of payment. And that's why sometimes people say, oh, they call the person pay. Yeah, because so you got to investigate. We are providing your facts. We are not talking politics. At the CSA, we provide facts because we are the technicians. So when we hear people having confusions or other people are using it to politicize things, then we thought we should provide the rightful information. We here on this show, we provide facts. And that's why we thought to provide these basic information, highlight these things. And my boss always goes around, people call, interview, and then once he goes through all of these things, people say, oh, but we didn't know. So that's how you see it. Say, some people's salary. Now, what did the reform also do? So I will there are some of those people were brought down the pay of those who earn far above their pay grade. And also for those, what the reform did do, there were people who were paid far below. It helped to bring them on board. That is, they upgraded the protector and upgraded the pay of those, the monthly payment of those who were being paid far below the air. There were other people too. Instead of they receiving maybe $300, they were being paid $150. Or instead of receiving $150, they were being paid $40. It is, yeah. So I was go along, you see. So it also brought people who were paid far above their position. They brought them back to their regular, and those who were paid below, they brought it up to the regular. So you see what the reform did? That's a benefit, right? So we're getting there. So let us go. Before the reform also realized that approximately 80% of all government of Liberia employees earn below their paid positions. That is, according to the reform, they realized that majority, 80% of those in the civil service, they are the 44,000, they were being paid below. When few persons were carrying all of the cash, they were paid below. So what the reform did was, but then the reform knew that government needed 120 million United States dollars to upgrade, to adjust all of those who were below. Government needed that amount. When the reform realized that 80% of all government employees who earn below, that the percentage who earn below their pay grade, that is the position, government realized that they needed an estimation of 120 million to adjust the pay of all making below for their position. Government needed that. You know what it means? 120 million United States dollar government needed to upgrade, to adjust those various salaries that were far below 80% of those on government payroll. That was huge money the government needed to make a. So there were some strategies government put in place, the civil service put in place. As if I say civil service, talk about the government as well. Civil service or government or interchangeably use them. So sorry, so not. So the civil service and the Ministry of Finance put in place and say, hey, getting this money is huge, but how can we do that? That where we talk about thoughtfulness when it comes to managing the economy, right? So what did they advise? They said, look, since we can have this money hugely given to all, we don't know where to get it from because there are other competing priorities and other things corresponding or responsibilities that we need to responsibilities that we need to take care of. We thought it is better that we work on some strategies. So what did they say? They advise agencies, head of agencies or ministries to what? Limit replacement after retirement. Obviously people will get retired. 60, 65 people will go on retirement. You have to do that, because if you don't retire people, how would others come on board? The younger generation, how do they work? So you thought you needed to retire people. So what they say, no. Once you retire people, they say limit replacement. Do not bring, because some people say, oh, the men they retired and let's bring people on board. I'll just come and say, LBS were joking me. Hey, they say that bring people on board. No, you can't. The government said, no, you can't bring people on board now, whether you retire them or they have been retired or for something done out of the way they've been, their contracts or their employment have been terminated. They say, slow down. Do not limit replacement. Do not replace them now, unless there's something that there's nobody there who can. So what government says is that what you need to do is that you need to what? Create from within, right? Create from within, promote people. Because when people get retired, the salary stopped, right? And people get terminated, the salary stopped. When people resign, other people leave the public sector and go into the private sector, their salary stopped. So government say, hey, we are looking for $120 million United States dollars to adjust people's salary who are making below the pay grade or the position. So to get this money is a huge amount. There are other things that we need to do. We need money for, but just the strategy we do. Limit why replacement on retirement for those who are retired, for those who employments have been terminated, or those who have resigned. Limit replacement. Do not replace them now. Yeah. Why they came up with that? As a result, all of those who resigned, those who got retired, their money, they use that money to adjust the salary of those with lower pay. You see that thing, and I think that was brilliant. So don't bring people on board immediately. Don't bring people on board. Just use the money of those who retire and other things to adjust the salary of those who, the 80% of civil servants who were below the pay grade. And I think that was good. So we say, therefore, the strategy, limit replacement after retirements, termination, etc., and apply the savings to adjust pay of those making below the proper pay. As a result, thousands of pay adjustment done over the last few years. And this helped. Instead of going to borrow 120 million United States dollars from somewhere, that strategy helped. And it helped a whole lot. So here's the benefit. Because of that strategy, what happens? The benefit of pay reform. The reform, we're talking about the reform. That is the harmonization. We're trying to bring out facts. We don't talk politics on this station. On this program. We talk facts. And that's why, as the hub of the technicians, those who are going, when people are carrying the information here and there, we think it is good for us to kind of bring people to check and give people the information. Now we leave it with you to whether to accept it or go by the wave of those who will be telling you the other, or to be telling otherwise. Now, the benefits of pay reform. What did the pay reform do? There were 350 or 3,500 teachers who were called, some would say volunteer teachers or supplementary teachers, who were being just given stipend. Stipend is small money compensation between $4,000 to $8,000 Liberian dollars. And that was for years. It took place for years. They were receiving that amount. 3,500 supplementary teachers. This reform allowed them to what? First, the government brought them back. They said, no, you can't be volunteers for 8 years. Through the reform, they brought them on the central payroll as well. On the central payroll as well. Why? Employees of government now. So instead of you being a volunteer teacher and all of those things, they brought their own pay. They probably, when they were there for volunteer teachers, were there paying $4,000. You know what it means to pay somebody $4,000 or up to $8,000 Liberian dollars. They've been there for years because we said no, volunteers, teachers. So this time you will now volunteer now, bring them on board on the central payroll. And guess what? Increase their payment from 20 up to 20,000. That is now they're receiving between 20,000 up to 25,000 monthly. Those who are receiving the 4,000, between 4,000 and 8,000 are now receiving 20,000, between 20,000 to 25,000 monthly. This is a benefit of the reform. A benefit of the reform. Can you imagine? 3,500 supplementary of volunteers teachers were there for 8 years from time past. Said no, the reform said no. Let's bring them on central payroll and we pay them what they need, starting from 20,000. That's a huge plus. There's a benefit. What the benefit also did was this. The benefit also make sure that there were 2,000 health workers. 2,000 health workers who worked in the public health system but were paid by the health sector pooled fund. There's a health sector pooled fund. But for years that pooled fund was running until 2017 when it came to a close. That is, it was a donor, of funding. You're paying 20, that's 2,000, sorry, 2,000 health workers were being paid by this. They were working in public sectors, the public system or government, but they were being paid by what? Or some donor funding, and we call it as the health sector pool fund. It closed in 2017. The government said no. They brought them back. This through the reform. They brought them onto the central payroll. Brought it onto the central payroll. Can you imagine? Brought it onto the central payroll. And again, that pool fund was responsible for around a third of the health sector budget. When they take a third of the health, so almost the entire health sector budget. It tells you that how huge that funding was and how huge that challenge was when they were migrated to the central payroll, and government said, also, government would have come to say, hey, man, we don't have money for that. I said, no, we have to bring the people on the central payroll. Brought them to the central payroll. Can you imagine? 2,000 health workers. After they admitted 3,500 supplementary teachers, this time around they brought 2,000 health workers who were paid outside the government budget initially. But when that closed 2020 or 2017, government said, hey, our people, we have to be inherited and migrated into the central payroll. Third of the budget, can you imagine? Responsible that funding at the time, it was responsible for third of the health sector budget. And that's exactly what it is. So we go in as just an automated, the reform also brought an automated pay system. Automated pay system means that you can tell one boss who has a responsibility can just look, just within a click, he will know who all have paid, which ministry or agencies have paid, their whole pay structure, all of those things. In time past, those things were not there. You wouldn't know exactly how things were being. That's what I say, by the distraction of those there. This time around, you can know. So you know exactly within your space. You say, oh, at the end of the month, I'll be receiving this. I'll be receiving this. I'll be receiving this. So you know you have a control system, employment system, and you predict the wage bill is predictable. That is, you can tell. Now I say, I think in October we have so amount from all of the agencies. I mean, it's so structured. Everything is so structured. People send it to me. Nobody does employment out of the CSA anymore, because your pen, that is a personal action notice that contains all of the information that you need before employment is done, and all of those things you have to get it. Nobody is not done. Nobody employs it out of the CSA regulation. It's controlled. The reform has done this to control people. You understand? So nobody decides on your pay again. They say, hey, that's why I say, Mayo, they have the civil service standing orders there. When you as a civil servant, you breach some clauses in there, they can penalize you when it comes to that. So, in as much as the civil service agencies that will protect you, they are telling you to always read the standing orders so that you know the do's and don'ts. These are reforms. We try to lay more emphasis on the reform so that people will not misinform you or disinform you. Because people say, hey, this is that. Yes, the reform has stopped double dippers or triple dippers. The reform has stopped double dippers or triple dippers. There was sometimes the time past, there were people who were on 3 agency payrolls. They on this ex-ministry payroll, this agency payroll. The reform said, no, you can't be getting payroll here and there. It says no double dippers. And just by putting on the ghost names were on various payrolls. So they threw the GSA. Before then, how often did we hear that the payroll was audited? Today, the payroll is audited on repeatedly. Quite recently, I will just tell you between 2018 to 2021, the GSE through and the civil service did carry out this physical verification of civil servants at all the length and breadth of this nation, at all ministry agencies and commissions. And the result, they realized there were 10,000 civil servants who were unaccounted for. 10,000 civil servants. After they done all of their stuff, went here and there, they brought a result. The result was that the recommendation of getting off the payroll, because it is required that once you are unaccounted for, to get out of the payroll. Yes, filing for money. You can be, they assign you here, you can go there. Some people, they assign it to say, they don't even go to work there. So they needed to do X, Y, Z. But hey, the president advised, hey, our people, they'll give us a second try. The mark of a good leadership, the people-centered leadership. So they went for a second try. Recently, they conducted, they advised all of them, invited them to come to the Civil Service Agency to carry out the second phase of that. That is for those who were some gave a lot of excuses. Some said they were on steady leave. Some said they were hospital. They were sick. All of things. So, okay, no problem. Let's come, go through it. And you can imagine almost 2 months, the GSE was at the Civil Service Agency, conducted this verification for those who weren't verified. And you also would, I would tell you that I think the exercise didn't go, not more than 2,000 persons came be verified. So it tells you that. What does it speak? It tells you that. That's what my boss said. We always will keep fighting ghosts. And somebody asking a question, say, so you show that there's no ghost? And he said, no, I can tell you. That earnest he is. He never puts politics in his job. He always said that. Honorable Thompson always said that. He said, yeah, at civil service, we don't talk politics. We give you facts. So we only come to educate people when we realize there are people who are spreading or spreading out or falsehood when it comes to this thing. We come to bring facts. It is left with the public to accept it or continue to be deceived or misinformed or disinformed on these things. We say, yeah, these are things. The book in the cook out. So you say, no, fighting syndicates and other things, it's a gradual thing. I mean, it's not an event like today it stops. But this has done a lot. The double dippers, no more double dippers, no more triple dippers. So you realize somebody in time past will be getting 5,000, 6,000, 7,000. At the end of the month, one person taking 14, 15,000. This reform has helped to alleviate or eliminate those ghost names and other triple things that were happening. Discrepancies, disparities that were taking place. This reform has helped a whole lot. Folks, this is the Civil Service Hour, your ELBC. It is a regular program that comes out every morning between 12:05 to 1. And we're there to bring you up to speed on matter relative to the well-being of civil servants. I'm your presenter, Joseph N. Swain, Director for Communications and Public Relations at the Civil Service Agency. Today, we thought to speak more to highlight this pay reform or harmonization, its benefit, and the logic behind all of those things. So we thought to bring you. So we will open the lines now, 0880-514-096, so that I can make your own contribution and let's get the ball rolling from here because we'll be running out of here very soon. 0880-514-096. You can place in your call, but I will be going through some other things. Again, the civil service are up that they produce. So we signal us if we have a call, but we'll continue with the conversation as we are going. As I said, I'm here alone. Fine. Hello. Okay, my. So then we have the LPS scheme. The government introduced the LPS scheme since 2021. It said, and today people, civil servants are benefiting from it. You go to the various, in fact, the vendors are also queuing. They want to come in because the goods that used to stay for months, for days, for weeks on the shelf now. They are moving. You go to building material stores, you go to the electronic stores, you go to the houseware, you go to kitchenware, everywhere. People are there. Hello?
I want to call.
Hello?
Hello?
Yeah.
Hello?
Yeah, good afternoon. Your name and where you calling from?
Hello?
Hello, where you calling from?
Oh, Adam C. Widow calling from Choba community.
Adam Joba Community. Yeah,
Yeah.
your concern,
Is
Chief.
it a 7 hour?
This is the civil service hour. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, I appreciate you very much, Instido, for you letting our mind on the identical thing about the civil servant. Because under the regime, there are so many false information are coming on pertaining to the civil servant. How they are not getting paid on time, there is no pay for them. So I so appreciate for that re-funding of the civil servant service in the place. Because right now I'm deciding to call to let know what is the civil servant is for in Liberia.
Okay.
But for the explanation, they have already clarified everything, and we, of course, is very appreciated. I thank you very much.
Thank you, my brother. Thank you. Let's keep yearning for good information,
All right,
factual
sir.
information. Thank you so much. So again, folks, 08005140996. That's the number to join us. So we will. Sorry, my producer just told me, when the thing is so nice, I think I will tell my boss we'll come here again to Carlight. We are running out of time. In fact, we are out of time now. So I just want to say, don't be misled, don't be misinformed or disinformed by these things. If you want to find out Liberians, come to the civil service agency. At the civil service agency, we don't talk politics, we give you facts, and we try to bring the facts to you by highlighting these important things. The harmonization reform did so much well for this country, so much well. Stop double dippers, stop those names. Some of those who are carry out the false information, those who were maybe some of them were benefiting triple times, and the thing that they just wanted you to play on your mind. So we want to say thank you for your listening role, and we want to say join us again on Monday between 12:05 to 1 with a fresh edition of the Civil Service Hour. I've been your presenter, Joseph N. Swin, Director of Communication. I'll be accompanied by Dio